Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Rama Krishna. Today we will be talking about the elements of the universe and how the animosity or the conflict among these elements can be can be a source of problem in your life and how you can do the remediation to it. So as we all know, the whole universe is made up of these five elements: Akash, that is space, air, then fire, and water, and earth. And these five elements, they make the entire universe. The whole world, the entire universe is made up of these elements. And not only the visible universe that you see is made up of these things, but also your own body. Okay, in as per the Hindu mythology, Hindu philosophy of life, whatever is there in the universe is also there inside the body. So your body is also made up of these five elements, and not just your body, but the mind that is inside you, the mind which is there, that's also made up of these elements. And not only your mind that you know of, but also the subtle levels of your mind, the karmic body, everything is made up of these five elements. And these five elements are basically, you say, when the gunas, various gunas, they combine with these five elements, they generate all these things. Like when the tamasic guna, they combine with these five elements, they generate the sthul jagat, the world that we see, the universe that we see is basically the tamasic guna. And from the sattvic guna, when they combine with these five elements, they generate the mind. And when they combine these elements, when they combine with the rajasic guna, they create the prana. Okay, the prana vayu that we breathe. So someday I'll talk about the prana vayu and all those panch pranas. But today the talk is about how does the conflict of these elements generates problem in your life, and how you can remediate it, like what puja you have to perform, whom you have to worship, and what you have to do to basically remediate it. So let's dive deep into it. So all these elements, so visually you'll see, you must have observed that there is antagonism among some elements. Like Agni is antagonistic to water, okay, and Vayu is antagonistic to earth. So why Vayu is antagonistic to earth? You see, Vayu is something that flows away with it the earth element. Earth is like a sand. If you consider, if earth is weak and Vayu is strong, then Vayu will basically blow away the earth. Like weak earth is like what? Like sand. And strong Vayu is like a typhoon. Okay. It's like a gush of air that will basically blow away all the sand, and it will transport the sand from one place to another one. So if the Vayu is strong, it will basically shift the earth element. On the other hand, if earth is strong, if earth is like a mountain, then it will obstruct the Vayu, it will obstruct the air element. So these two elements, they are basically antagonistic to each other. Whereas if you see the Agni and water, Agni and water, the fire and the water element, they are antagonistic to each other. Fire will basically evaporate the water, and water will douse the fire. So that's how they are like opposite to each other. Now this is what is there in the visible universe, but the same play goes around in your mind also, because when these elements, the main crux of these elements, they are embedded, when they are combined with the sattvic guna, they create your own mind. So Agni, you can compare the fire, you can compare with the anger that you have, okay, and water you can compare with the love, compassion. So if you are angry, then angry and compassion, they basically go opposite to each other. If the love and the emotions, that is like water, and anger is like the fire that burns away, that evaporates, that compassion evaporates the love. The love will basically reduce. So uh, what you can say, like, suppose if the compassion is very high but the anger is very low, the fire is low but the water is high, then that water will douse the anger, okay. So in that case, water will win. But if the water is low and the anger is high, it will evaporate the emotions. It will evaporate the love. It will evaporate the compassion. Just the fire will remain, which is the krodha. Krodha, anger will remain. So that's how the fire and water will play out. Now, similarly, what about Vayu and Earth? So Earth is like stability, and Vayu is like squandering away. Okay, Vayu is like when your mind is all over the place, and Earth is like when it is concentrated at one place, at a single place. Vayu is like your attention is diverted toward n number of things. That is Vayu. Okay, you are continuously looking at the iPad, then another alert notification comes on your mobile, you are looking at the mobile, then something else pops up. So your attention is divided towards n number of things. But what is the earth? When everything is concentrated at a single point, that is earth. You're sitting at one place doing that thing completely. So when your earth is strong, your alertness will be there and the one place. But when the air is strong, you will basically squander away the things over like here and there. Okay. On the other hand, another example you can think of is that earth is like laziness in the bad sense. Okay, in the bad sense, when it is negative, it is like laziness or lethargy. Okay, you are sitting at one place not doing anything. But Vayu, what will do? It will try to push you towards go and meet the people, go around, do something, move your body. So that's how these things play out in your mind. Now let's see what these elements actually, okay, what are the levels of existence that we have. Okay, so just at the preamble of this video, I talked about how these elements play out at different levels of yourself. Now let's see what exactly I mean by several levels of existence. So the first level of existence is your own body, the physical body. That's what you see. That's what you see for the other person. When you see the other person, you see the body. That's the physical level of existence. Now, second level is the mental level, the mind that you cannot see, but based on the facial gestures, you can understand what somebody is thinking. But what exactly he is thinking, you may never know. Okay, but what you are thinking, you definitely know. Okay, so that level of knowledge that basically knows that what mental activity one is doing. Okay, what I am thinking, whether I am feeling happy, feeling sad, feeling sorrowful, all those things I know, and these things are part of mental existence. Then comes the subtle level, that is the subconscious level. Now this is like the you see the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is the mental level, but the whole iceberg is beneath the surface. That beneath the surface thing is the subconscious level. This is not something that we know easily, but we know that if you are thinking something, then where is that thought coming from? The thought is coming from the subconscious part. Okay, so when you start meditating, or when in the state of sleep, in the state of dreaminess, you might get this kind of inkling that why some thought is coming to you. So that is the subconscious level. So that is another deeper level of existence. The next comes is the superconscious level. Okay, that superconscious level is something that even in the state of meditation, or even whatever level of meditation you do, or in the sleep or in the dreaminess, no, you will never get the inkling of that. That what level of super consciousness, that state of existence basically comes from your karmic body. So even the super conscious as well as the supra conscious, so these two levels are basically part of your karmic body. This is that body that you have been carrying for several lives. So at the end of your life, at the time of death, your mind, your karmic mind, gets transported from one body to another body. This is the one that takes birth over and over again, and that contains the superconscious, the supraconscious mind. This basically contains the karma of yourself, and in the superconscious level, it contains the karma from your parental lineages, from your maternal side, from your paternal side. Now there is a way in astrology to judge all these things. For the physical level, we have the first harmonic. Like what I mean by harmonic. So basically, if you consider the multiples of 12, so first 12 is the first harmonic, second 12 is the second harmonic. So from D1 to D12, these Varga chakras, they basically belong to the physical level. So whatever charts we study as a part of D1 to D12, they are basically part of physical universe. D1 is the physical yourself, D2 is the physical wealth that you have, D3 is the physical siblings that you have, D4 is the physical properties that you have, D5 is the power, and D6 is the rogue, the diseases. D10 is the D9 is the wife, spouse. D10 is the career. D12 is the parents. So all these are physical things that we are surrounded with. But what happens after D13 to D24? Those are actually the mental level. Like D24 is for studies. Okay, what is your learning abilities? D20 is for it's the Vimshamsha. That is your spirituality, adhyatma. What level of adhyatma you have? So the second harmonic belongs to the mental level. And after D24, so D25 to 36, so that is the third harmonic of 12 rashis, that belongs to the subconscious part. Okay, and this is that subconscious part which is partly visible, partly not visible, like based on your effort, based on your mental abilities. Okay, this is something where you can make a difference, you can do something to make a difference. That's the subconscious part of it. Then the super consciousness is the karmic level that you are getting from your parents. Just because you are born to this mother and this father, like their karmas are also coming to you. And what are those karmas, how they are affecting your life? That's part of the D37 to D48. And then the last harmonic is the 49 to 50 to 60, and the important chart over there is D60 chart, that basically shows the amount of karma that you have been carrying for throughout this life. That is D60 chart, the Shashtandra chart. Okay, so this is how all the Varga chakras, they are related to various existence of your life. Now why did I tell you all these things? Because based on these things, we will understand the conflict is coming from which level. Okay, so exactly what we'll be doing, we'll be choosing one particular chart that shows the problems in your life. That is the D30 chart. It is the harmonic of the sixth house. Sixth house is for what? It is for the rin, that is the loan, rogue, that is the disease, and ripu, the enemies. Okay, and it is the second harmonic of the sixth house, and it shows the evils. Okay, all the bad things that you can ever, that is originating from the subconscious level. Okay, so we'll have to capture the elemental conflict which is coming from D30 level, and because of that I'll be that's why we have chosen this. Okay, now before we delving into how we can find out that conflict, let's see what these who are the rulers of these elements. Okay, so first the fire. Fire is ruled by Sun and the Mars. Okay, because Sun is the source of fire and Mars is that fire that burns in your kitchen. Oh, that's the fire that burns it. But Sun is the fire, that's the fire of intelligence, fire of knowledge, but it is also the source of all the fire in the world. Then the Jupiter. Jupiter is the space. Okay, space is something which is not in conflict with anybody. Okay, because in the space everything is playing out, all the dance that is happening is inside that space. So Jupiter is not in conflict with anything. Jupiter is the space element, is not in conflict with anyone. The space conflict is ruled by Jupiter. It is something that binds all the elements together. Then the water. Water is ruled by Moon and the Venus. Then Mercury is for Earth. Earth element is denoted by Mercury, and then air is for Saturn. Now let's look at the permanent element conflict. Okay. So before we delve into the conflict, we have two kinds of conflict that we can judge. First is the permanent kind of conflict. By permanent, what I mean, it is independent of the dasha which is running. Irrespective of dasha which is happening, it will be happening. It will be there because it is independent of dasha. Okay. So for this, we have to look at the D1 chart and the D30 chart. D1 is for the self and D30 is for the evil self, that subconscious level of the evil that can happen. And by analyzing these two charts, we can judge the conflict that is happening. It is permanent because it is not dependent on any dasha. So the remedy for this, you have to perform lifelong. There is another one which is temporary kind of effect that comes, temporary kind of conflict that comes, that is based on the dasha which is currently running. So that I'll explain next. So first let's delve into the permanent kind of conflict. So suppose this is the chart. Okay, so D1 chart. Suppose in D1 chart Mars is there in the Capricorn. Okay, so first step, we have to select the planet to be analyzed. So we'll analyze the planets one by one. So let's say we selected Mars. Okay, then the next step is to find out the dispositor. So who is the ruler of that house? So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is the dispositor of that house. Okay, and note down the ruling element for this planet. So Saturn's ruling element is air. So Mars is associated with air in the D1 chart. Now then look at the Mars in the D30 chart. So in the D30 chart, Mars is there in Gemini. Gemini is dispositor of Gemini is Mercury, and Mercury basically rules the element Earth. Okay. Now we see in the D1 chart, Mars is associated with air, but in D30 chart, Mars is associated with the Earth. And Earth and air, they are mutually animosity. They are mutually in conflict to each other. So Mars has got the conflict. Okay. So that's how we capture the planet that has got the conflict. Second, next, apply this example to Venus also. So Venus is in Scorpio in D1. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and Mars basically governs the fire. Okay, so in D1 chart, Venus is associated with fire. We don't have to look at the element of that Rashi. Scorpio has Jala, but that Jala we don't have to look. We have to look at the element of the dispositor. Okay, the dispositor of Scorpio is Mars, and Mars is Agni. So that's why Venus is in the Agni. Okay, it has the Agni element in D1 chart. Now let's look at the Venus in the D30 chart. In D30 chart, Venus is there in Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the Akash Tattva, it is the space element, and space is not in enmity with anybody. So Venus is good, it's good to go over there. So only Mars is something that requires the remedy. Okay, what remedy we'll do, we will see next. So this is the permanent kind of element conflict that you can see. So like this, you have to analyze for all the planets that you have in the Kundali, and find out which planets have the conflict. Okay, so that conflict will show throughout the life independent. Next, we'll look at the temporary element conflict. The temporary element conflict means something which will happen temporarily based on the Mahadasha which is currently running, based on the Antardasha which is currently running. So let's look at this example. Suppose this is your chart, and for this we'll have to only look at the D30 chart, because we are looking at the elemental conflict between the Mahadasha and the Antardasha, and both the elements, both the Mahadasha Lord and Antardasha Lord we'll have to see in the D30 chart. Suppose you are running the Mahadasha of Saturn. So find out the element which is currently ruling Saturn. So Saturn is there in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the water element. So Saturn is associated with water. Now let's look at the Antardasha. Antardasha is, suppose Venus is running. Venus is there in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is basically Agni. So now we have seen the conflict because it is between Agni and the water. So there is a conflict. So in the Dasha of Saturn, in the Antardasha of Venus, or vice versa, you will see this kind of elemental conflict arising. Okay. Next, take an example of Ketu and Saturn. So Saturn is there in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus has water, so Saturn is associated with water. Now let's look at Ketu. Ketu is there in Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is air element. So air and water don't have any conflict. So that's fine. There is no temporary conflict arising out of it. Now once we have arrived at the conflict which is happening, now we'll have to do the remedy of it. So for remedy, we'll have to look at the planet in the D30 chart. Okay, we'll have to do the remedy from D30 chart. Who is ruling the D30? Okay, for example, in previous scenario, in case of permanent conflict, we saw that let's suppose we have to do the this thing for Mars. Okay, because Mars had the conflict. So we have to see the D30 chart. In D30 chart, Mars is ruling Mars is there in Mercury, mercurial sign, which is the earth element. So we'll have to do the remedy for earth. Okay. Whereas in case of the temporary one, if we see the conflict is there with Venus, okay, because Venus is the Antardasha. So for that particular Antardasha, we have to do the remedy. So Venus is there in the fire element because Mars is fire. So we'll have to do the remedy for fire. Okay. And once we have identified the remedy, we can do propitiate these deities. Okay. If there is a problem with the earth element, we'll have to worship Ganesha because Ganesha rules the earth element. If there is problem with water, then we'll have to do the remedy for any Devi. Okay. Preferably Ma Durga. If it is with air, then we'll have to worship Shiva. If it is with fire, we'll have to worship Suryadev. Okay, because these are the deities of the particular element. So if we propitiate them lifelong, if it is case of permanent one, then you'll have to propitiate the deity for the life. That's one remedy. Okay. Now, based on this, we have a concept of Panchopchar Puja. Basically, during the puja, daily puja that we do, we perform these 5 activities. Okay. What we do? We offer some flower. Okay. We offer some flower to the deity. What does the flower represent? Flower represents the Jupiter, the Akash Tattva. So even though Akash is not associated with, not in animosity with anybody, but Akash is an element. So if you are doing the Panchopchar Puja, that itself means Panch Upachar, basically 5 element. It is for the 5 elements. So one of the element is Jupiter, one of the element is Akash, the space, and to propitiate the space, it is good to worship with flowers. Okay. So when you offer flower to your deity, you are propitiating the Akash Tattva, you are propitiating the space element. And then comes the incense. Okay. Incense, the agarbatti that we do, it is for the air element. It propitiates the Saturn. Okay. Then for the fire element, we do the deep dan. We show the diya to the deity. And then comes the naivedya, the prasadam, the fruit or the thing that we show as a bhoga to the deity. That is part of the water element because that water represents Venus, and that Venus basically nourishes us. And then finally, to propitiate the earth element, we give the chandan, or we do the tilak, we apply the sandalwood to the Shivlinga. So with these 5 things daily we have to do the puja, and that will basically propitiate all the 5 elements. So if we do this puja daily, then we don't have to worry about the evils arising in our life. Those elements will automatically be propitiated. So that's why Panchopchar Puja is so common and so much recommended for every household. Thank you. I hope you found this useful. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.